All right, agents, buckle up. We're diving deep into the Division 2's Year 6, Season 2. It's called Shades of Red.
Ooh, that's a cool name.
Right. And we've got all the intel you need, dev blogs, patch notes, the works straight from the source. So you can dominate this season, obviously. We know Aaron Keener is finally behind polls.
That's been long enough.
Seriously. But his whole network of rogue agents is still out there wreaking havoc.
Yeah, and our first target is going to be Theo Parnell.
Right. Got to take him down. Oh, and the big news. They're completely overhauling how seasons work this time around.
Yeah, Seasons 2.0 they're calling it. Sounds kind of fancy, huh?
It does. They've got this structured seasonal journey now. 7 missions, each with 8 objectives. It's all laid out like a checklist. Kind of like that.
Yeah, definitely a more guided approach. Could be great for newer players, I think. You know, those who might get overwhelmed by all the content. And even for veterans, it gives you a clear path to all those juicy rewards. You know, the XP, the resources, and even unlocks for the new modifiers.
Oh, yeah. Gotta get those unlocks. And, you know, if you grind it out and complete the whole journey, you get a unique cosmetic item. Bragging rights.
Gotta love those. But, okay, can we talk about the modifiers for a second? This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah, the theme this season seems to be all about range. I'm already trying to figure out how that's going to change my build.
They're definitely making us think about engagement distances, that's for sure. So the global modifier, point blank, that's always active now, right?
Right.
It actually gives you bonus damage depending on how far you are from enemies.
So, like, there's a sweet spot.
Exactly. Get too close or too far, and you miss out. Positioning is going to be key.
So, like, if I'm running a shotgun build, I got to be right up in their faces.
You got it. But it's not just about the type of weapon. It's about adapting, you know, being smart about your positioning based on the situation. That's where those new active modifiers come in. They're like temporary power-ups, you know. You can choose to equip one, and each one tweaks those range zones in different ways.
Oh, so it's like adding another layer of strategy on top of everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Till then there's more. Passive modifiers, too.
You got it. You can actually stack up to 3 of them for even more bonuses, again, based on those range zones.
Yeah.
So let's say you're rocking a sniper build, and you want to maximize that damage from afar. You could equip passive modifiers that'll boost your headshot damage or increase your optimal range, you know. It lets you really fine-tune your approach and your playstyle.
So we're getting modifiers, but wait, enemies are getting modifiers too, right?
Oh, yeah. This is going to be interesting. They've got these hostile modifiers. And basically, as you're progressing through the season, right, the enemies, they adapt. They gain new abilities based on your progress. So if you're like just crushing everything, they might start hitting harder. Maybe they become more resistant to certain types of damage or even develop completely new tactics. So you can't just rely on those same old strategies. You'll have to adapt too.
Okay, that sounds pretty intense, but it's all optional, right? Like, if you want a classic Division experience, you can just turn the whole modifier system off.
Yeah, totally. And it's not messing with global events either, so those are still going to be around.
Okay, good to know. So, they're giving us more control over how we engage with the content this season. I like that. And another way they're giving us more control is with these new priority objectives. This changes things up quite a bit when it comes to farming, right?
Yeah, this is interesting, right? You get to choose 1 out of 3 objectives, but they're kind of shrouded in mystery at first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you only get a little bit of info at the start, like how long it'll last, what kind of rewards it offers, and maybe what type of mission it is. But once you commit, bam, you get all the details and you see all the rewards.
So I'm desperate for crafting materials. I can zero in on the objectives that give me those.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe you're looking for a specific gear set piece, or you just want to level up fast. The choice is yours. And you can even re-roll the options if you don't like what you see. Or even abandon an objective altogether if you, like, change your mind.
Okay, so definitely more freedom in how we spend our time. And of course, completing these objectives showers us with all those tasty rewards. XP, resources, even unlocks for those passive modifiers we were talking about earlier.
Right. Speaking of targeted rewards, we've got a new weekly activity too. Manhunt Scouts. This one's a little like a detective game, almost.
Oh, intrigue. I'm intrigued. What do we have to do?
So each week, there's a new scout, and there are 3 activities you have to complete. The catch is you have to solve a riddle to figure out what those activities actually are, and you have to do them in order. Each step gets you some decent rewards like gear, XP materials, even some collectibles.
So it's not just about shooting your way through everything. You got to use your brain a little too.
Exactly. But the real prize comes when you complete all the scout activities for that week. That unlocks the scout reward, which is even better. And get this, if you complete all the scouts throughout the whole season, you unlock the Manhunt Climax mission.
Wow.
And if you beat that, you unlock the Master Climax mission. That's like the ultimate challenge.
Okay, hold on. Master Climax mission. We'll get to that later because that sounds pretty intense. But new gear time. There's a new exotic assault rifle called Strega with a talent called Unnerve. I feel like anything with a name like that has got to be good.
Oh, it sounds pretty nasty.
Yeah.
So picture this. You take down an enemy, any other bad guy within like 20 meters, they get slapped with this mark. And each mark increases the damage you deal to that enemy by 15%.
So the more marks, the more damage.
You got it. Crowd control beast.
Brutal. I like it. Anything else cool in the loot department?
Oh yeah, how about an exotic holster, the Centurion Scabbard? This one has this talent called Counter, and it activates when you swap weapons. Now, here's where it gets interesting.
Right, I'm listening.
So in PvE, each time you swap between your primary and secondary weapons, you get a different set of bonuses. First, it's 20% rate of fire and weapon damage. Then, it's 50% magazine size and reload speed.
So if I'm like constantly swapping between my main guns, I'm getting this constant flow of buffs.
Yep, it lasts for 12 seconds each cycle, or until you swap again. But, catch this only works between primary and secondary.
So no sidearm shenanigans.
Nope. Got to stick to your main guns. Now, in PvP, they balance it out a little bit. The bonuses are a bit lower, and they only last 10 seconds.
Right. Don't want us completely breaking the dark zone. Makes sense.
Exactly. Now, there's also another exotic chess piece coming.
Oh, yeah, the reward for that climax mission.
They're being super secretive about it for now. Which makes me think it's got to be something pretty special. Okay, let's talk gear sets. First up, the Virtuoso set. This is where that range theme really shines.
Lay it on me.
So at 2 pieces, you get 15% weapon handling and magazine size.
Right.
Not bad. 3 pieces, another 15% weapon damage. But the real game changer is that 4-piece talent called Symphony.
Ooh, that sounds dramatic.
It is. It rewards you for killing enemies at different ranges with different weapon types. Imagine like conducting an orchestra of destruction.
Okay, I'm liking the sound of this.
So if you kill an enemy further than 25 meters, your shotguns, SMGs, and pistols get a 40% damage boost. Your ARs and LMGs get a 20% boost, and you get 25% bonus armor.
So longer range kills buff the close range weapons. Interesting.
Right. Now, if you kill an enemy closer than 25 meters, your MMRs and rifles get a 40% damage boost. ARs and LMGs, another 20% boost. Plus, 30% headshot damage. Both buffs last for 15 seconds.
So it's like a dance, right? Back and forth, depending on the situation. Maximizing your damage by playing those ranges.
You got it. But here's where it gets even crazier. If you're consistently killing enemies at both ranges further than 25 meters ND, within 25 meters you start building up stacks. And at 4 stacks, bam! All those bonuses are multiplied by 1.5 ND. They're triggered simultaneously for 15 seconds.
So you're hitting this massive damage spike across the board? This sounds kind of nuts.
It does. I can already see the YouTube build videos popping up for this one.
Oh, for sure. Now, what about those chest and backpack talents? I saw Fortissimo and Accelerando. What do those do?
Fortissimo, that's a chest talent straight up doubles those weapon damage bonuses from Symphony.
Oh, way.
Yeah. So instead of a 40% damage boost, you're looking at a crazy 80% boost to certain weapon types, depending on the range.
This is going to melt some faces.
And a backpack talent, Accelerando, it makes it easier to reach that peak damage output. So instead of needing 4 stacks to get that 1.5 multiplier, you only need 3.
So you're hitting that sweet spot even faster. This gear set is definitely on my must-have list. Okay, but there's another new set, right? Legatus SPA. Tell me about that one.
This brand set is a bit more straightforward. 1 piece gives you 30% swap speed, 2 pieces gives you 70% optimal range, and 3 pieces, another 15% weapon damage. So if you're all about those quick weapon swaps or maximizing your range, this one could be a good option.
Sounds solid. But what about named gear pieces? I saw a backpack called Vigil with a pretty interesting talent. Fill me in.
Yeah, so Vigil features the perfect versatile talent. Basically, when you swap between your primary and secondary weapons, they got to be different types, though it amplifies your total weapon damage for 10 seconds. The amount of amplification depends on the type of weapon you're using and the range you're engaging from. So shotguns and SMGs, you get 45% amplified damage to enemies within 15 meters. Rifles and MMRs, also 45% amplified damage, but to enemies further than 25 meters. And then LMGs and ARs, 20% damage to enemies between 15 and 25 meters.
So it's like rewarding you for being a true weapon master, switching between different guns and ranges.
Exactly. But there's a cooldown of 5 seconds per weapon type.
Right. Can't just be spamming weapon swaps all the time. Got to be strategic about it.
Oh, and for PvP, they balance it out. The amplification's a bit lower. 35% instead of 45%.
All right, what else we got in the named gear department? Saw something about a mask called Visionario.
Oh, yeah. Visionario has a perfect attribute of plus 50% optimal range.
Yeah.
So must have for any build that's focusing on long-range engagements. I bet it pairs perfectly with that Legatus SPA brand set.
Ooh, yeah, good point. Now, we got to talk about the new weapons, too, that really stood out to me. The Drill, which is a Carbine 7, and Cricket, which is a GR9. They both have this talent called Perfect Precision Strike, and that just sounds awesome.
It's pretty cool. So basically, every time you kill an enemy from further than 20 meters, you build up stacks, up to 2 stacks, max. Then, when you hit an enemy that's within 20 meters, you consume all those stacks, and you get 35% amplified damage to enemies within 20 meters for 5 seconds.
So you pick them off from afar and then swoop in for the kill with this big damage boost. I like the sound of that.
There's also a slightly less powerful version of this talent called Precision Strike that's available on some other weapons, but it works the same way, except you need 3 stacks for 20% amplified damage. So, options.
Options are always good. All right, let's talk about the big one, the new master difficulty for the climax mission. This sounds brutal, like even for the most hardcore players.
Oh yeah, this is definitely not for the faint of heart. Tougher enemies, all those seasonal modifiers we talked about, and I'm sure they've got even more surprises up their sleeves.
So it's not just about having the best gear, it's about strategy, skill, knowing when to use those modifiers. But the rewards have got to be amazing, right?
Oh yeah, you're looking at bonus XP, high-quality loot, resources, currencies, and even unique vanity items. But the big prize, the exotic chest piece, is called Provocator.
Oh, another exotic chest piece. What's so special about this one?
So Provocator has the Challenger talent. It gives you 35% damage resistance against enemies within 15 meters.
So like a reward for getting up close and personal.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not all about new stuff this season, right? They made some interesting changes to existing gear, too.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. What'd they do?
They actually nerfed the Sledgehammer talent a bit. It used to give you a 30% bonus damage to armor against marked targets, but now it's only 15%.
Ah, so not as OP as it used to be.
Right, it's still powerful, but not quite as dominant.
Gotcha. What else?
They also tweaked Mosquito Song, that exotic pistol. Remember how it used to take forever to build up stacks?
Yeah, that thing was a pain to use.
Well, now it only needs 5 stacks. And they added a 25% damage to armor bonus to the effect.
Ooh, okay. Might have to dust that one off and give it another go. Wait, hold on. Did they actually make certain rifles and MMRs fully automatic?
Yeah. Big changes to weapon handling. So for rifles, the ACR UIC-15, the Ravenous M1A, Lightweight M4, LVOAC MDR, Resolute MK-47, MK-17, SIG-716, and the USC. And for MMRs, the G28, MK-20, and SVD. All fully automatic now.
Wow, that's a lot of changes. I can't wait to see how this shakes up the meta.
Right. It's going to be interesting. And speaking of meta, they've actually added a bunch of named weapons to the loot pools for specific missions and bosses now. So, for example, you can now get the Pyromaniac, Mechanical Animal, and Kingbreaker from Camp White Oak.
Whoa, wait, seriously. So if I'm hunting for a specific weapon, I don't have to just grind endlessly in the dark zone.
Yeah, much more focused approach to farming now. But keep in mind, those drops aren't guaranteed. They just have a higher drop rate. And the higher the difficulty, the better your chances.
Makes sense. Risk versus reward. Right. Always got to challenge ourselves.
Exactly. But they didn't stop there. They made some other changes, too. Quality of life improvements, the little things.
Those are always nice. What'd they do?
So they made some performance enhancements for PC players and for those fashion-conscious agents. Balaclavas now cover your ears.
No way. Really? That's awesome.
Yeah. No more weird floating balaclavas.
I always thought that looked so strange. Good change. What else?
They also made a UI change. They moved those appearance mods for your chest, backpack, gloves, and knee pads from the inventory modding menu over to the apparel menu.
Oh, that makes so much more sense.
Right. It was kind of confusing before. They also updated the recurring projects pool for level 40 players. And they finally fixed that scavenger points exploit.
Yes, no more cheating. Okay, what else? Saw something about a friend referral program making a comeback?
Yep. They're relaunching it with some new incentives to get people to bring their friends into the Division 2.
All right, what kind of goodies are we talking about here?
So if you refer a friend, you both get the Insurgent uniform and the Insurgent backpack.
Ooh, not bad. Not bad at all. Worth spreading the word, for sure. Okay, let's talk Season Pass. What's the deal with this Season's Pass? Worth the investment?
Well, it's optional, of course. It costs 1,000 premium credits.
About $10, right?
Yeah, pretty much. You can access it from level 1, but some of the rewards, you got to be level 40 to get them.
So everyone can participate, but veterans get a little extra love. I like that. So what about the actual rewards, though?
Oh, it's packed. 10 gear dies, 10 weapon skins, 2 outfits, 2 new prestige arm patches, and 400 virtual currency.
Not bad. Not bad at all. And they always do the premium plus option, right, for those who want to go all in.
Of course. There's $29.99, and you get all the premium season pass stuff, plus a bunch of extra goodies. Best value if you're really going to dive deep this season.
Now, what about those of us who are sticking with the free track? Anything cool for us?
They didn't forget about the free players. You can earn an outfit and a weapon skin, so everyone gets to look stylish.
I love that. Okay, but I know some people might be on the fence about that season pass. But they do have that tempting one-time offer, right?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. 2,000 premium credits, plus an extra 600 credits, and the rare augury mask.
That's a steal. All right, I think we just threw a ton of info at you, but trust me, there's so much more to unpack.
We've barely scratched the surface.
We'll be right back to dive into the story, the impact on the community, and the future of the Division 2. Don't go anywhere.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground. You know, all the new gear, the weapons, those game-changing features. But there's another layer to this whole update, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's not just about, the mechanics. It's about the story.
That narrative. We can't forget about that. I mean, Aaron Keener might be behind bars, but his whole network is still out there.
Yeah, causing chaos.
Exactly. And our first target, Theo Parnell. This is where things get interesting. I'm curious to see how they tie his story into this whole range thing. Because it's not just a gameplay mechanic, right? It's like woven into the whole season. Even the name, Shades of Red.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we know Parnell, right? He's like this mastermind, a real manipulator. So maybe he favors those long-range engagements, kind of forcing us to adapt to his style. Or, maybe he's got some tricks up his sleeve that mess with our perception of range, like playing mind games with us.
Ooh, that's a cool idea. Like, imagine fighting him in an area where the environment's playing tricks on you, making it hard to judge distances. So you think you're safe, but suddenly, bam, he's right there in your face.
Right. Adds this whole other layer of tension and challenge. It's not just about shooting, it's about being aware, really paying attention to your surroundings and questioning, what's real.
Right. Like, is that a real enemy or is that Parnell messing with me?
Exactly. And that kind of ties into the Shades of Red theme perfectly. Red, it can symbolize danger, chaos, or even that, distorted reality Parnell might be trying to create.
Whoa. Mind blown. It's like we're not just fighting him, we're fighting his whole philosophy, his whole way of seeing the world.
Right. And that's just the first target. We've got a whole season of Manhunt targets to uncover.
Yeah.
I think the developers are really leaning into the storytelling this time.
For sure. And I can't wait to see all the secrets and twists. Speaking of secrets, do you think the new gear, the weapons, they'll give us clues about Parnell's past, maybe? Or connections to other factions?
Oh, I'm sure the lore hunters are going to be all over it.
Yeah.
Digging through every piece of gear, every talent description, every line of dialogue. The Division 2, it's always been so good with that environmental storytelling. I bet we find audio logs, emails, all sorts of hidden clues.
Ooh, I love that. It's like we're piecing together a puzzle as we play. Okay, enough story for now. Let's talk community. How do you think these changes are going to impact the way people play? Those seasonal modifiers, those are going to be a huge talking point.
Oh, absolutely. People are going to be theory crafting, sharing builds, coming up with new strategies. The meta is going to be in constant flux. It's exciting.
I've already seen people talking online. Some are all about it, excited for these super specialized builds, maximizing damage at specific ranges, like those shotgun builds we were talking about earlier.
Right. But others are worried about, power creep, those amplified damage talents and the stacking bonuses, things getting out of hand.
Right.
We might see some insane damage numbers.
It's going to be wild. But, the developers have always been pretty good about listening to feedback and making tweaks as needed. I'm sure they'll find that balance.
Right. Making sure it's challenging, but not impossible. Now, speaking of challenging, what about those new difficulty levels? Especially that master difficulty for the climax mission. What do you think about that?
I think it's great. Gives those hardcore players a real challenge, like a badge of honor. Plus, those exclusive rewards like the Provocator chess piece, that's going to be a real status symbol.
Totally. But it's also important to make sure, the lower difficulty levels, they got to stay accessible. Not everyone wants a crazy hard challenge every time.
Right, exactly. Finding that balance,
Yeah.
Catering to different play styles, different skill levels, inclusivity, right?
Always. Another thing that I think is going to be huge is the loot system. Having those named weapons tied to specific missions, bosses, it gives people like a plan, a more focused way to farm.
It definitely takes away some of the randomness and the frustration. You know exactly where to go if you want that pyromaniac or mechanical animal.
Right. But gotta remember, it's not a guaranteed drop. Could still take a few tries, even on the higher difficulties.
Yeah, gotta manage those expectations. But, part of the fun is the hunt, right? Finally getting that drop you've been grinding for, it's such a great feeling.
For sure. And it's even better when you can share that moment with friends. I think this season, we're going to see a lot more teamwork, people teaming up, especially for those harder difficulties.
Oh, yeah, I can see it now. Clans and groups, organizing runs, sharing strategies. It's going to be awesome.
Speaking of community, what about the friend referral program? Think that'll bring in a lot of new players? I think so. Those rewards are pretty tempting. It's a good way to introduce friends to the game.
Hey, want to team up and take down some rogues? We can both get some sweet new gear.
Right. Win-win. Now, we can't talk about community impact without talking about the season pass.
Yeah.
Always a bit of a hot topic.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Some people love it, others not so much.
Right. I think it depends, Some people want to support the developers, get some cool cosmetics. Others prefer the free route. And I think both are valid. The important thing is they offer both options.
I agree. And I'm glad they didn't leave out the free players either. The outfit, the weapon skin, that's cool.
Definitely. Shows they care about all players.
Yeah, that's important. But I know some folks might still be on the fence about the season pass, but that one-time offer, that's pretty tempting.
Oh, yeah, for sure. 2,000 premium credits plus the bonus and that rare augury mask. It's a good deal.
Right. It's like dipping your toes in, seeing if you like the premium experience.
Exactly. Smart move by the developers. Might just convince those hesitant players to jump in.
I think they're doing a great job building hype. They've given us so much info, so many game-changing features. It's going to be an exciting season.
Totally. I can't wait to see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
But for now, we need to, step back, look at the bigger picture.
Right. What does this mean for the Division 2 in the long run? Is this like the beginning of the end, or is it just the beginning of something new? We'll explore that and more in the final part of our deep dive, so stick around. Welcome back, agents. We've gone deep, real deep into Year 6, Season 2, Shades of Red, gear, weapons, story, you name it.
But now it's time to ask, the big question.
The what does it all mean question.
Right, exactly. What does this mean for the Division 2 going forward? Is this the final chapter, or is this just the start of something new?
It's interesting because they're not just adding content. They're changing how we play. Those seasonal modifiers, the whole range focus, the loot changes. It's like they're giving the Division 2 this whole new energy, giving us reasons to come back, try new things, really push ourselves. And that master difficulty for the climax mission, they definitely haven't forgotten about the hardcore players.
Right. Keep those guys happy, and you've got a thriving community, which, brings in new players.
And speaking of new players, I think these changes actually make the game more welcoming to them, too. That streamlined seasonal journey is a great way to ease people in, and the fact that those modifiers are optional, you can jump in without feeling totally overwhelmed.
Totally. You can try out those new mechanics at your own pace. It's a good balance, catering to both the vets and the newbies.
And, we can't forget about those quality of life improvements. The little things, they add up, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It shows they're paying attention. The balaclavas covering the ears. Small detail, but it makes a difference.
All right. No more weird floating balaclavas.
And moving those appearance mods to the apparel menu just makes sense.
So much better. And they're still fixing exploits, bugs, all that. Keeps things fair.
Yeah, nobody likes a cheater.
Exactly. Looking at all this, I'm feeling pretty optimistic about the future of the Division 2.
Me too. They're listening. They're innovating. This isn't a game that's fading away. It's evolving.
It's exciting, right? Who knows what's next? But for now, we've given you a lot to think about.
A lot to digest.
So, as you jump into Year 6, Season 2, Shades of Red, we want to leave you with one final question. With this emphasis on range, all these new mechanics, how do you think the meta will evolve? What builds will be king? What strategies will fade away?
I can't wait to find out.
Me neither. Experiment, strategize, and most importantly, have fun out there, agents. It's your season to dominate.
Until next time,